Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another PS4 and PS5 jailbreak news update. Once again, we've got lots of topics to dive into here in this video, especially for the PS5. The PS5 is definitely blowing up again. Starting with a big piece of news, which of course is the support for Kstuff all the way up to firmware 9.00 right now, with 9.xx also in the works. So EchoStretch has been putting in a lot of work getting Kstuff ported, and this is what allows us to run our PS4 fake packages and our PS5 game dumps and homebrew applications on the PS5. So it basically makes the PS5 jailbreakable all the way up to firmware 9.00 so far. So initially we got, of course, 8.00 support, followed by 8.20, then 8.40 and 8.60, and now 9.00. And this also includes the DLC fix for PS4 fake packages, which means you can install your PS4 DLC as fake packages normally, just like you do on PS4. And the DLC content should be available when you load the game, whereas previously it had to be packed and patched as part of the update file in order to get it to work. That was kind of a bug for quite a while, but that issue has now been resolved as well. So we have all of those fixes, as well as being able to run our PS5 game dumps and PS4 fake packages up to firmware 9.00. Now, of course, this also means that a lot more PS5 game dumps are going to be available and playable on these higher firmwares. So we've got games going up to sort of late 2024 that are now playable, like Silent Hill Remake and Baldur's Gate 3 and many others that are now supported. Whether or not you should update really comes down to your own personal preference. Obviously, there are arguments for staying on older firmwares, like getting access to more complete exploits and being able to do things like maybe run Linux on the console in future. And then, of course, there's reasons to update to be able to access more games. But of course, at the end of the day, it really depends on what you value more. And you also have to bear in mind that once you go past firmware 5.50, you can no longer use the web browser to run the jailbreak. And once you go past 7.61, you can no longer use the Blu-ray exploit to jailbreak the console, and you have to use the Japanese games with the Lua exploit on 8.00 and higher. But you can always update using a USB drive to any specific firmware if you want to, but I don't want to try and push you in any particular direction. So obviously it is up to you guys on what you decide to do here. Now, technically the PS5 is jailbreakable up to firmware 10.01, but we don't have Kstuff support up to 10.01 yet, although hopefully, fingers crossed, we will be able to get Kstuff support up to that firmware. We just don't know what kind of things in the firmware that PlayStation might have changed to make it more difficult for Kstuff to get ported on those higher firmwares. So we'll have to wait and see if it can be ported up to 10.01, but 10.01 is definitely the highest firmware that we can essentially jailbreak because the lapse kernel exploit was patched after that point. So of course, with PS4 we got the release of GoldHEN version 2.4b18.6 from Sistro, and this version adds a few new features, especially a couple of ones for people using the Blu-ray exploit. We have a new enable BD app auto kill option in the settings, and this option will just close the disc player automatically once GoldHEN has loaded. So once you've used the Blu-ray exploit to actually load the jailbreak, it will just immediately close it automatically for you, so you can get up and running with the jailbreak faster instead of having to close it manually. Definitely a handy feature. It also has an enable auto eject feature, which can be used to auto eject the Blu-ray disc after you've loaded the exploit successfully. So that's another option, so it will automatically close the disc player and then eject the disc as well. Not a feature I would really use, but it's there for anybody who wants it. So that is what's been added there. We also have a new plugin update feature in the plugin settings. So you can update the plugins online from the official repo and just download all of the latest plugins directly on GoldHEN itself, instead of having to use the PS4 Cheats Manager. Also, if you're offline, you have local ways to install the plugins by copying the plugin zip file to a USB drive or to the internal hard drive on the data folder, and it can allow you to update from those locations as well, not just from the internet. So that's the option there. And it also has now the AIO fix as a toggleable option, so you can enable and disable that plugin, which fixes the black screen and save data corruption issues. That is also built in there. So those are your new options that have been added there in this version of GoldHEN. Now, in order to install it, if you're using the normal Blu-ray exploit from GoldHEN, or if you're using my AIO version, which includes the older version of GoldHEN on the disc, then in order to update it, all you have to do is simply download the latest version of GoldHEN, open up the 7-zip file using 7-zip, and then you can simply extract the goldhen.bin file to the root of a USB drive and rename it to payload.bin, and then simply plug that into your PS4, and then when you load the Blu-ray disc, it will automatically load the one from the USB, and it will copy it to the hard drive so that the next time you want to load the Blu-ray disc and jailbreak the console again, you will not need that USB drive plugged in with the payload on there. It will just load the updated one that was copied to the hard drive from the hard drive, and you're up and running every time you load the Blu-ray disc. It will load the latest GoldHEN payload, B18.6. So if you're using the official repo or my AIO version, that's the way that you can update GoldHEN without having to burn a new disc. Now, if you are burning a disc for the first time, I have released an updated version of my all-in-one version of the ISO that does now include B18.6 on the disc, so it can load it from the disc directly if you're loading it for the first time. But if you're using that version and you have like an older version of GoldHEN already on the hard drive, it will still prioritize that one. So you're still best to update it with a USB, or simply just delete the payload.bin from the data folder to get rid of that older version, so it will load the updated one from the disk. So anyway, those are your options there for getting things up and running with GoldHEN. Now, something that also applies for PS4 and PS5 is that the Lua loader now has another officially supported title. So we've got Aerial Life, so CUSA 17122, so that's another Japanese game that can be used to load the Lua version of the exploit to jailbreak the PS4 or PS5. It's an alternative method to using the Blu-ray disc. And it does have at least one advantage over the Blu-ray method. Well, two really. One advantage is that it loads a lot faster, because it takes longer to load up a Blu-ray disc than it does to get the game loaded to run the save. The auto Lua loader runs faster. So that is one benefit. But the other main benefit is that you don't require the asynchronous IO fix, the AIO fix, that fixes the black screen and save data corruption issues, because the Lua version of the exploit that's loaded with the Japanese games does not have that issue. So there's no patch required to fix the black screen and save data corruption issues, because you don't have black screen or save data corruption issues when loading the jailbreak from the Lua exploit from the save file with these Japanese games. So the other interesting thing here is a lot of these games are now in stock. They were out of stock for a long time, but places like PlayAsia and CD Japan, they are kind of back in stock, a lot of these games. A lot of it is because there's not people trying to pick up these games to jailbreak their PS4s when they can use a Blu-ray disc, which is easier. But if you're on a PS5 and you're looking to jailbreak your PS5, it's a good idea to get your hands on one of these games, because, of course, on firmwares above 7.61, the only way we can jailbreak the PS5 is using this Lua exploit right now. And this userland exploit works all the way up to the latest firmwares on the PS4 and PS5. So still definitely worth getting a copy of one of these games, especially since they're not in as high demand as they were just a few weeks ago. We also have a new build of etaHEN that was released, version 2.3b by Lightning Mods. And this version adds a bunch of additional features. We have a new display title IDs on home screen on retail consoles. So this option in the etaHEN settings menu, you can toggle that on, and then all of your applications will show the title ID label above them. Now, this is very handy for when you're trying to find certain game patches or DLC or cheats. You need to know what title ID of the game you have, because there's different versions of a game for the European version, Japanese version, US version. Certain special editions of the games will have a different title ID, and then you can't mix and match different patches for the wrong title ID. They will not install. And so you need to make sure you're matching the title ID with any additional content or patches or cheats that you're installing. So being able to just see the title ID there directly above the game is very handy. So that's a feature there that you can toggle on and off. You also have another feature you can toggle on and off, which is the etaHEN cheats option, which is called the game options in the settings. So you can enable that option, and then when you press the options button on one of your games, it will show up with the etaHEN cheats at the top. And if you select that option, it will list all of the available cheats for that title, so that you can just quickly at a glance see what cheats are available for a specific game without having to launch it. But when you do launch the game, you can also use that menu to also toggle the cheats on and off when the game is running. So you have that feature added as well. Now, we also have a auto disk eject feature that's been added. So just like on PS4 with GoldHEN, it will auto eject the disc after etaHEN loads up. So that's another feature. And we also have support for payload elfs in the plugins menu for etaHEN. So you can load normal elf files, normal payloads as plugins in etaHEN, instead of having to modify them or convert them into a plugins file. So you can take any of your normal payloads like AirPSX or the web server payload, for instance, and then you can just load them from within etaHEN, or even set them to start up when etaHEN loads. so you can have everything loaded by the time you have etaHEN launched. So this version of etaHEN also has the fake package DLC fix, because it also adds a updated version of Kstuff with 8.00 and 8.20 support. It doesn't have 8.40 or 8.60 support added, although it does have support for those firmwares with the toolbox, which means you can load the toolbox separately with Kstuff disabled, then load the new version of Kstuff that supports up to 8.60 separately, so that you can still get the etaHEN experience without having the updated Kstuff actually built in. And then we also have things like the PS5 debug being updated with 7.xx support, and a few other fixes. I do have a full video breaking down this entire update, so I'll leave that linked down in the video description. So beyond that, etaHEN was also recently open sourced by Lightning Mods. So he says here, etaHEN is officially open source under a GPL v3 license. However, to deter bad actors from changing a few strings, recompiling the CMake lists needed to build etaHEN will not be provided. This ensures people can learn and use code from it with credits without it being stolen. So there's always a debate around whether or not these projects should be open sourced or closed sourced by different developers. Open source is great, of course, because other people can learn from the source code and implement stuff into their own projects so that they can develop their own stuff faster. And generally, of course, we can get other developers coming in to improve etaHEN in different ways, so we can get faster and more developments more frequently, which is definitely handy. But then on the downside, you do get people, of course, stealing the source code and re-uploading it and changing the credits to claim that they created it, or using stuff from etaHEN in their own projects and, you know, not disclosing it and claiming credit for a lot of the developments that are not actually theirs. So you get kind of these kind of problems that come up, especially the bad ones where you can get people taking the code and modifying it and in ways where it's unstable and could cause damage to people's consoles, which we've seen before with certain projects on the PS4 in the past. So it's always kind of a double-edged sword, but hopefully this will be a positive development here for etaHEN. So beyond that, we also, of course, have a update to the Blu-ray exploit for the PS5 from Victorious X, the PS5 BD Jailbreak, which works up to 7.61. So this version includes timing changes. So we've got timings changed between payloads for better stability. It's also updated etaHEN to version 2.3. The latest PS5 debugs included with 7.xx support. The latest elf loader's also been added. And then we also, of course, have the web server payload and FTP payloads have also been updated in there if you're using the Blu-ray exploit to jailbreak the console. And of course, the latest version of etaHEN has also been updated in the web browser version of the exploit as well, if you're using IdleSauce's version with the UMTX2 exploit. So that has also been added there. Anyway, that's going to do it here for this news update. So hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.